FAA A&P General Written Test Study Guide. Question 1. The term that describes the combined resistive forces in an AC circuit is impedance. The basis for transformer operation in the use of alternating current is mutual inductance. The opposition offered by a coil to the flow of alternating current is called, disregard resistance, inductive reactance. An increase in which of the following factors will cause an increase in the inductive reactance of the circuit? Inductance and frequency. Capacitors are sometimes used in DC circuits to smooth out slight pulsations in voltage/current. In an AC circuit, the effective voltage is less than the maximum instantaneous voltage. The amount of electricity a capacitor can store is directly proportional to the plate area and inversely proportional to the distance between the plates. Unless otherwise specified, any values given for current or voltage in an AC circuit are assumed to be effective values. When different rated capacitors are connected in parallel in a circuit, the total capacitance is equal to the sum of all the capacitances. When inductors are connected in series in a circuit, the total inductance is equal to the sum of the individual inductances. What is the total capacitance of a certain circuit containing 3 capacitors, which capacitance of 0.25 microfarad, 0.03 microfarad, and 0.12 microfarad? 0.4 microfarad. Which requires the most electrical power during operation? 2 lights requiring 3 amps each in a 24-volt parallel system. The potential difference between 2 conductors which are insulated from each other is measured in volts. A 24-volt source is required to furnish 48 watts to a parallel circuit consisting of 4 resistors of equal value. What is the voltage drop across each resistor? 24 volts. When calculating power in a reactive or inductive AC circuit, the true power is less than the apparent power. The correct way to connect a test voltmeter in a circuit is in parallel with the unit, which term means 0.001 ampere, milliampere. What unit is used to express electrical power? Watt. Which statement is correct when made in reference to a parallel circuit? The total current is equal to the sum of the currents through the individual branches of the circuit. Which of the following are commonly used as rectifiers in electrical circuits? Diodes. Diodes are used in electrical power supply circuits primarily as rectifiers. Transfer of electricity from one circuit to another without the aid of electrical connectors is called induction. Which is correct in reference to electrical resistance? If one of 3 bulbs in a parallel lighting circuit is removed, the total resistance of the circuit will become greater. What happens to the current in a voltage step-up transformer with a ratio of 1:4? The current is stepped down by a 1:4 ratio. Which of these will cause the resistance of a conductor to decrease? Decrease the length or increase the cross-sectional area? Through which material will magnetic lines of force pass the most readily? Iron. A 48-volt source is required to furnish 192 watts to a parallel circuit consisting of 3 resistors of equal value. What is the value of each resistor? 36 ohms. Which is correct concerning a parallel circuit? Total resistance will be smaller than the smallest resistor. The voltage drop in a circuit of known resistance is dependent on the amperage of the circuit. A thermal switch or thermal protector, as used in an electrical motor, is designed to open the circuit in order to allow cooling of the motor. When referring to an electrical circuit diagram, what point is considered to be at 0 voltage? The ground reference. What is the purpose of the ground symbol used in electrical circuit diagrams? To show that there is a return path for the current between the source of electrical energy and the load. In a PNP transistor application, the solid-state device is turned on when the base is negative with respect to the emitter. In a NPN transistor application, the solid-state device is turned on when the base is positive with respect to the emitter. Typical application for Zener diodes is as voltage regulators. Forward biasing of solid-state device will cause the device to conduct. If electrolyte from a lead-acid battery is spilled in the battery compartment, which procedure should be followed? Apply sodium bicarbonate solution to the affected area followed by a water rinse. Which statement regarding the hydrometer reading of a lead-acid storage battery electrolyte is true? The hydrometer reading does not require a temperature correction if the electrolyte temperature is 80 degrees Fahrenheit. A fully charged lead-acid battery will not freeze until extremely low temperatures are reached because there is mostly acid in the solution. What determines the amount of current which will follow through a battery while it is being charged by a constant voltage source? The state of charge of the battery. Which of the following statements are generally true regarding the charging of several aircraft batteries together? Batteries of different voltages but similar capacities can be connected in series with each other across the charger and charged using the constant current method. Batteries of different amp hour capacities and the same voltage can be charged in parallel with each other across the charger. The method used to rapidly charge a nickel-cad battery utilizes constant voltage and varying current. The purpose of providing a space underneath plates in a lead-acid battery cell's container is to prevent sediment buildup from contaminating the plates and causing a short circuit. Which condition is an indication of improperly torqued cell link connections of nickel-cadmium batteries? Heat or burn marks on the hardware. The presence of any small amount of potassium carbonate deposits on the top of NiCad battery cells in service is an indication of normal operation. What is the likely result of servicing and charging NiCad and lead-acid batteries together in the same service area? Contamination of both types of batteries. The electrolyte of NiCad battery is the lowest when the battery is in a discharged condition. The electrolyte of NiCad battery is highest when the battery is in a fully charged condition. The end of charge voltage of a 19-cell NiCad battery measured while still on charge depends upon its temperature and the method used for charging. NiCad batteries, which are stored for a long period of time, will show a low liquid level because electrolyte becomes absorbed into the plates. How can the state of charge of a nickel-cadmium battery be determined? By a measured discharge. What may result if water is added to a NiCad battery when it is not fully charged? Excessive spewing is likely to occur during the charging cycle. In NiCad batteries, a rise in cell temperature causes a decrease in internal resistance. Which of the following best describes the contributing factors to thermal runaway in a NiCad battery installed on an aircraft? Low internal resistance intensified by high cell temperatures and a high current discharge/charge rate in a constant potential charging system. When a charging current is applied to a NiCad battery, the cells emit gas towards the end of the charging cycle. What will a voltmeter read if properly connected across a closed switch in a circuit with electrical power on? 0 voltage. What type of sections illustrate particular parts of an object? Removed sections. The working voltage of a capacitor in the AC circuit should be at least 50% greater than the highest applied voltage. What type of line is normally used in a mechanical drawing or blueprint to represent an edge or object not visible to the viewer? Medium weight dashed line. A specified measured distance from the datum or some other point identified by the manufacturer to the point on an aircraft is called a station number. Which statement is true regarding orthographic projection? 1-view, 2-view, and 3-view drawings are the most common. A line used to show an edge which is not visible is a hidden line. Which of these is true? Schematic diagrams indicate the location of components with respect to each other within the system. Which statement is applicable when using a sketch for making a part? The sketch must show all information to manufacture the part. For sketching purposes, almost all objects are composed of one or more. For sketching purposes, all objects are composed of one or some combination of 6 basic shapes. These include the triangle, circle, cube, cylinder, cone, and sphere. What should be the first step of a procedure in sketching an aircraft wing skin repair? Block in the views. A simple way to find out the center of a circle on a sketch or drawing or a circular piece of material is to draw 2 non-parallel chord lines across a circle and then a corresponding perpendicular bisector line across each chord line. Which of the following is true? On occasion, a mechanic may need to make a simple sketch of a proposed repair to an aircraft. a new design, or a modification. Working drawings may be divided into 3 classes. They are detailed drawings, assembly drawings, and installation drawings. What is the class of working drawing that is the description/depiction of a single part? Detailed drawing. Sketches are usually made easier by the use of graph paper. What material symbol is frequently used in drawings to represent all materials? Cast iron. The measurements showing the ideal or perfect sizes of a part on a drawing are called dimensions. Zone numbers on aircraft blueprints are used to locate parts, sections, and views on large drawings. One purpose for schematic diagrams is to show the functional location of components within a system. A hydraulic system schematic drawing typically indicates the direction of fluid flow throughout the system. Which of the following is true? A measurement should not be scaled from an aircraft print because the paper shrinks or stretches when the print is made. When a detailed drawing is made, it is carefully and accurately drawn to scale and is dimensioned. The drawings often used on illustrated parts manuals are exploded view drawings. A drawing in which the subassemblies or parts are shown as bought together on the aircraft is called an installation drawing. What type of diagram shows the wire size required for a particular installation? A wiring diagram. In what type of electrical system diagram are images of components used instead of conventional electrical systems? A pictorial diagram. Schematic diagrams are best suited for which of the following? Troubleshooting system malfunctions. In the reading of aircraft blueprints, the term tolerance, used in association with aircraft parts or components, is the difference between extreme permissible dimensions that a part may have and still be acceptable. Which of the following terms is used to indicate specific measured distances from the datum to other points in the aircraft? Station numbers. When computing weight and balance, an airplane is considered to be in balance when the average moment arm of the loaded airplane falls within its CG range. What tasks are completed prior to weighing an aircraft to determine its empty weight? Remove all items except those on the aircraft equipment list, drain fuel, and fill hydraulic reservoir. The useful load of an aircraft consists of crew, usable fuel, passengers, and cargo. Which of the following can provide the empty weight of an aircraft if the aircraft's weight and balance records become lost, destroyed, or otherwise inaccurate? Reweighing the aircraft. In the theory of weight and balance, what is the name of the distance from the fulcrum to an object? Lever arm. In the process of weighing an airplane towards obtaining the CG, the arms from the weight points always extend parallel to the center line of the airplane, which would have an effect on aircraft CG results when conducting a weight and balance check. Leaving the down locks installed. When an aircraft is positioned for weight on scales located under each landing gear wheel, which of the following may cause erroneous scale readings? Parking brake set. Private aircraft are required by regulation to be weighed periodically. False. Private aircraft are required to be weighed after making any alteration. False. What FAA approved document gives the leveling means to be used when weighing an aircraft? TCDS. Which of the following generally yields the highest degree of aircraft leveling accuracy? Spirit levels. To obtain useful weight data for purposes of determining the CG, it is necessary that an aircraft be weighed in a level flight attitude. What type of measurement is used to designate the arm and weight and balance computations? Distance. What determines whether the value of a moment is preceded by a plus or minus sign in an aircraft weight and balance? The result of weight being added or removed and its location relative to the datum. The maximum weight of an aircraft is the empty weight plus useful load. Which of the following statement is true regarding helicopter weight and balance? Weight and balance procedures for airplanes generally also applies to helicopters. What should be clearly indicated on the aircraft weighing form? Weighing points. If the reference datum line is placed at the nose of the airplane rather than at the firewall or some other location aft of the nose, all measurement arms will be in positive numbers. Zero fuel weight is the maximum permissible weight of the loaded aircraft, passengers, crew, and cargo without fuel. If it is necessary to weigh an aircraft with full fuel tanks, all fuel weight must be subtracted from the scale readings, except unusable fuel. Empty weight of the airplane is determined by subtracting the tare weight from the scale reading and adding the weight of each weighing point. When dealing with weight and balance of the aircraft, the term maximum weight is interpreted to mean the maximum authorized weight of the aircraft and its contents. Most modern aircraft are designed so that if all the seats are occupied, full baggage weight is carried, and all fuel tanks are full, what will be the weight condition of the aircraft? It will be in excess of maximum takeoff weight. The major source of weight change for most aircraft as they age is caused by repairs and alterations. The useful load of an aircraft is the difference between the maximum takeoff weight and basic empty weight. When determining the empty weight of an aircraft certified under current airworthiness standards, the oil contained in the supply tank is considered a part of the empty weight. Improper loading of a helicopter, which results in exceeding either the fore or aft CG limits, is hazardous due to the reduction or loss of effective cyclic pitch control. The maximum weight as used in weight and balance control of a given aircraft can normally be found in the aircraft TCDS sheet. The amount of fuel used for computing empty weight and corresponding CG is unusable fuel. In a balanced computation of an aircraft from which an item located aft of the datum was removed, use a negative weight times a positive arm equals a negative moment. All other things being equal, if an item of useful load located aft of the aircraft CG is removed, the aircraft CG change will be forward in proportion to the weight of the item and its location in the aircraft. When making a rearward weight and balance check to determine that the CG will not exceed the rearward limit during extreme conditions, the items of useful load which should be computed at their minimum weights are those located forward of the rearward CG limit. When or under what conditions are adverse loading checks conducted? Anytime a repair or alteration causes empty weight center of gravity to fall within the empty weight center of gravity range. When accomplishing loading computations for a small aircraft, necessary information obtained from the weight and balance records would also include current empty weight and empty weight CG. If the empty weight CG of an airplane lies within the empty weight CG limits, it is not necessary to calculate CG extremes. When computing the maximum forward-loaded CG of an aircraft, minimum weights, arms, and moments should be used for items of useful load that are located aft of the forward CG limit. An aircraft's Lmac and Tmac are defined in terms of distance from the datum. If an aircraft CG is found to be at 24% of Mach, that's 24 in the expression of the distance from the Lmac. Which coupling nut should be selected for use with 12-inch aluminum oil lines, which are assembled using flared tube ends and standard AN nuts, sleeves, and fittings. AN 818-8. Metal tubing fluid lines are sized by wall thickness and outside diameter in 1/16 inch increments. Hydraulic tubing, which is damaged in a localized area to such an extent that a repair is necessary, may be repaired by cutting out the damaged area and utilizing a swudged tube fitting to join the tube ends. What is an advantage of a double flare on an aluminum tubing? More resistant to damage when the joint is tightened. A certain amount of slack must be left in a flexible hose during installation because under pressure it contracts in length and expands in diameter. The term cold flow is generally associated with impressions left in natural or synthetic rubber hose material. What is the color of AN steel flare tube fittings? Black. Which of the following is true? AN fittings have an identifying shoulder between the end of the threads and the flare cone. Flexible lines must be installed with a slack of 5 to 8% of the length. The maximum distance between end fittings to which a straight hose assembly is to be connected is 50 inches. The minimum hose length to make such a connection should be 52.5 inches. Excessive stress on fluid or pneumatic metal tubing caused by expansion and contraction due to temperature changes can best be avoided by providing bends in the tubing. The material specifications for a certain aircraft require that a replacement oil line be fabricated from 3/4 inch aluminum alloy tubing. What is the inside diameter of the tubing? 0.606 inches. In most aircraft hydraulic systems, a two-piece tube connector consisting of a sleeve and a nut are used when a tubing flare is required. The use of this type of connector eliminates the possibility of reducing the flare thickness by wiping or ironing during the tightening process. Which of the following is true about MS military standard flareless fittings? During installation, MS flareless fittings are normally tightened by turning the nut a specified amount rather than being torqued. When flaring aluminum tubing for use with AN fittings, the flare angle must be 37 degrees. Scratches or nicks on the straight portion of aluminum alloy tubing may be repaired if they are no deeper than 10% of the wall thickness. Flexible hose used in aircraft systems is classified in size according to the inside diameter. A scratch or nick in aluminum tubing can be repaired provided it does not appear in the heel of a bend. Which of the following materials is compatible with phosphate ester-based hydraulic fluids? Butyl and Teflon. Which tubing has the characteristics high strength, abrasion resistance necessary for the high pressure 3000 psi hydraulic system for operation of landing gear and flaps? Corrosion resistant steel, annealed or 1/4 inch H. When installing bonded clamps to support metal tubing, remove paint or anodizing from the tube at clamp location. In a metal tubing installation, tension is undesirable because pressurization will cause it to expand and shift. The best tool to use when cutting aluminum alloy tubing or any tubing of a moderately soft metal is a hand-operated wheel-type tubing cutter. The primary purpose of providing suitable bends in fluid and pneumatic metal tubing runs is to prevent excessive stress on the tubing. Which of the following statements is true regarding minimum allowable bend radii for 1.5 inches OD or less aluminum alloy tubing and steel tubing of the same size? The minimum radius for steel is greater than for aluminum. A gas or fluid line marked with the letters PHDAN is used to carry a hazardous substance. Which statement is true regarding the variety of symbols utilized on the identifying color code bands that are currently used in aircraft plumbing lines? Symbols are always black against a white background, regardless of the line content. If a flared tube coupling nut is over-tightened, where is the tube most likely to be weakened or damaged? At the sleeve and flared junction. Which statement concerning Bernoulli's principle is true? The pressure of a fluid decreases at points where the velocity of the fluid increases. Which are true? 1. Bonding clamps are used for support when installing metal tubing. True. Unbonded clamps are used for support when installing wiring. True. Which statement is true regarding flattening of tubing and bends? Flattening by not more than 25% of the original diameter is permissible. A 3/8-inch aircraft high-pressure flexible hose as compared to a 3/8-inch metal tubing used in the same system will have equivalent flow characteristics. Magnetic particle inspection is used primarily to detect flaws on or near surface. Liquid penetrant inspection methods may be used on which of the following? Ferrous metals, non-ferrous metals, non-porous plastics. Which of these non-destructive testing methods is suitable for the inspection of most metals, plastics, and ceramics for surface and subsurface detection? Ultrasonic inspection. Which of the following defects are not acceptable for metal lines? Cracked flares, seams, dents in the heel or bends less than 20% of the diameter, dents in straight sections that are 20% of tube diameter. What non-destructive testing method requires little or no part preparation, is used to detect surface or near surface defects in most metals, and may be used to separate metals or alloys and their heat-treated conditions? Eddy current inspection. What method of mag particle inspection is used most often to inspect aircraft parts for visible cracks and other defects? Continuous. How many of these factors are considered essential knowledge for X-ray exposure? Exposure, distance, and angle. The testing medium that is generally used in magnetic particle inspection utilizes a ferromagnetic material that has a high permeability and low retentivity. Which statement relating to the residual magnetic inspection method is true? It may be used with steels which have It may be used with steels which have been heat treated for stressed applications. A mechanic has completed a bonded honeycomb repair using the potted compound repair technique. What NDT method is used to determine the soundness of the repair after the repair has cured? The metallic ring test. What two types of indicating mediums are available for mag particle inspection? Wet and dry process materials. Which of the following materials may be inspected using the mag particle inspection method? Iron alloys. One way a part may be demagnetized after mag particle inspection is by slowly moving a part out of an AC magnetic field of sufficient strength. Which type of crack can be detected by magnetic particle inspections using either circular or longitudinal magnetization? 45 degree. Which of the following methods may be suitable to use to detect cracks open to the surface of aluminum forgings and castings? Dye penetrant inspections, eddy current inspections, ultrasonic inspections, visual inspections. To detect a minute crack using dye penetrant inspection usually requires a longer than normal penetrating time. Which of the following is a main determinant of the dwell time to use when conducting a dye penetrant or fluorescent penetrant inspection? The size and shape of the discontinuities being looked for. When checking an item with the magnetic particle inspection method, circular and longitudinal magnetization should be used to reveal all possible defects. In mag particle inspection, a flaw that is perpendicular to the magnetic field flux lines generally causes a large disruption in the magnetic field. If dye penetrant inspection indications are not sharp and clear, the most probable cause is that the part was not thoroughly washed before the developer was applied. Which of the following is true? An aircraft part may be demagnetized by subjecting it to a magnetization force from alternating current that is gradually reduced in strength. True. An aircraft part may be demagnetized by subjecting it to a magnetizing force from direct current that is alternately reversed in direction and gradually reduced in strength. True. The pattern for an inclusion is a magnetic particle buildup forming parallel lines. A part which is being prepared for dye penetrant inspection should be cleaned with a volatile petroleum-based solvent. Under mag particle inspection, a part will be identified as having a fatigue crack under which conditions the discontinuity is found in a highly stressed area of the part. In performing dye penetrant inspection, the developer acts as a blotter to produce a visible indication. What defects will be detected by magnetizing a part using continuous longitudinal magnetization with a cable? Defects perpendicular to the long axis of the part. Circular magnetization of a part can be used to detect which defects? Defects parallel to the long axis of the part. Which of the following is true? In non-destructive testing, a discontinuity may be defined as an interruption in the normal physical structure or configuration of a part. True. A discontinuity may or may not affect the usefulness of the part. True. Which of the following corrosion attacks the grain boundaries of aluminum alloys when the heat treatment process has been improperly accomplished? Intergranular corrosion. Which of the following describes the effects of annealing steel and alloys, aluminum alloys? Decrease internal stress, softens the metal. Which heat treatment process of metal produces a hard, wear-resistant surface over a long, tough core? Case hardening. Which heat treatment operation will be performed when the surface of the metal is changed chemically by introducing a high carbide or nitride content? Case hardening. Normalizing is a process of heat treating iron-based metals only. Which of the following occurs when a mechanical force is repeatedly applied to most metals at room temperature, such as rolling, hammering, or bending? The metals will become cold work, strained, or hardened. The reheating of heat-treated metals, such as with a welding torch, can significantly alter a metal's properties in the reheated area. Why is steel tempered after being hardened? To relieve its internal stresses and reduce its brittleness. What aluminum alloy designations indicate that the metal has received no hardening or tempering treatment? 3003-F. Which material cannot be heat treated repeatedly without harmful effects? Clad aluminum alloy. What is descriptive of the annealing process of steel during and after it has been annealed? Slow cooling, low strength. Unless otherwise specified, torque values for tightening aircraft nuts and bolts relate to clean, dry threads. What is generally used in the construction of aircraft engine firewalls? Stainless steel. Unless otherwise specified or required, aircraft bolts should be installed so that the bolt head is upward and in a forward direction. All-clad is a metal consisting of pure aluminum surface layers on an aluminum alloy core. A fiber-type self-locking nut must never be used on an aircraft if the bolt is subject to rotation. Aircraft bolts with a cross or asterisk mark on the bolt head are standard steel bolts. Which statement regarding aircraft bolts is correct? In general, bolt grip length should equal the material thickness. Generally speaking, bolt grip lengths should be equal to the thickness of the material which is fastened together. When the specified torque value for nuts is not given, where can the recommended torque value be found? AC 4313-1B. If the cotter pin hole does not align with the recommended torque range, the acceptable practice is to change the washers and try again. A bolt with a single raised dash on the head is classified as an AN corrosion-resistant steel bolt. How is a clevis bolt used with a fork and cable terminal secured? With a shear nut tying to a snug fit, but with no strain imposed on the fork and safetied with a cotter pin. Where is an AN clevis bolt used on an airplane? Only for shear load applications. A bolt with an X inside a triangle in the head is classified as a NAS close tolerance bolt. The core material of all-clad 2024 T4 is heat-treated aluminum alloy, and the surface material is commercially pure aluminum. The aluminum code 1100 identifies what type of aluminum. 99% commercially pure aluminum. Aircraft bolts are usually manufactured with a Class 3 fit for threads. In the 4-digit aluminum index system number 2024, the first digit indicates the major alloying element. How is the locking feature of the fiber type lock nut obtained? By the use of a unthreaded fiber locking insert. Why should an aircraft maintenance technician be familiar with weld nomenclature? In order to gain familiarity with the welding technique, filler material, and temperature range used. Why is it considered good practice to normalize a part after welding? To relieve internal stresses developed within the base metal. Holes and a few projecting globules are found in a weld. What action should be taken? Remove all the old weld and re-weld the joint. Which condition indicates a part has cooled too quickly after being welded? cracking adjacent to the weld. Select a characteristic of a good gas weld. The weld should taper off smoothly into the base metal. One characteristic of a good weld is that no oxide should be formed on the base metal at a distance from the weld of more than 1/2 inch. In examining and evaluating a welded joint, a mechanic should be familiar with likely ambient exposure conditions and intended use of the part, along with type of weld and original part material composition. On a fillet weld, the penetration requirement includes what percentage of the base metal thickness? 25 to 50%. Which tool could be used to measure the alignment of a rotor shaft or the plane of rotation of a disc? Dial indicator. Identify the correct statement. Dividers do not provide a reading when used as a measuring device. Which tool is used to measure the clearance between a surface plate and a relatively narrow surface being checked for flatness? Thickness gauge. Which number represents the vernier scale graduation of a micrometer? 0.0001. Which tool is used to find the center of a shaft or other cylindrical work? Combination set. If it is necessary to accurately measure the diameter of a hole approximately a 1/4 inch in diameter, the mechanic should use a small hole gauge and determine the size of the hole by taking a micrometer reading of the ball end of the gauge. What tool is generally used to set a divider to an exact dimension? Machinist scale. What tool is generally used to calibrate a micrometer or check its accuracy? Gauge block. What precision measuring tool is used for measuring crank pin and main bearing journals for out of round wear? Micrometer caliper. The side clearance of a piston ring are measured with a thickness gauge. How can a dimensional inspection of bearing in a rocker arm be accomplished? Telescopic gauge and micrometer. The twist of a connecting rod is checked by installing push-fit arbors in both ends, supported by parallel steel bars on surface plate. Measurements are taken between the arbor and the parallel bar with a thickness gauge. The clearance between the piston rings and the ring lands is measured with a thickness gauge. What may be used to check the stem on a poppet type valve for stretch? Micrometer. Which tool can be used to determine piston pin out of round wear? Micrometer caliper. During starting of a turbine power plant using a compressed air starter, a hung start occurs. Select a proper procedure. Shut the engine down. A hung start in a jet engine is often caused by the starter cutting off too soon. Which statement below reflects a typical requirement when towing some aircraft? If the aircraft has a steerable nose wheel, the torque link lock should be set to full swivel. Which of the following statements is true regarding tie down of small aircraft? Nylon or Dacron rope is preferred to manila rope. When approaching the front of an idling jet engine, the hazard area extends forward of the engine approximately 25 feet. Which of the following is the most satisfactory extinguishing agent for use on a carburetor or intake fire? Carbon dioxide. If a radial engine has been shut down for more than 30 minutes, the propeller should be rotated through at least 2 revolutions to
check for hydraulic lock. The priming of a fuel-injected, horizontally opposed engine is accomplished by placing the fuel control lever in the full rich position. The most important condition to be monitored during start after fuel flow begins in a turbine engine is the EGT, TIT, or ITT. Which of the following conditions has the most potential for causing engine damage when starting or attempting to start a turbine engine? Hot start. How is a flooded engine equipped with a float-type carburetor cleared of excessive fuel? Crank the engine with the starter or by hand with the mixture control and cutoff, ignition switch off, and the throttle fully open until the fuel charge has been cleared. Generally, when an induction fire occurs during starting of a recip engine, the first course of action should be to continue cranking and start the engine if possible. When starting and ground operating an aircraft's engine, the aircraft should be positioned to head into the wind primarily for engine cooling purposes. When approaching the rear of an idling turbojet or turbofan engine, the hazard area extends aft of the engine approximately 100 feet. If a hot start occurs during starting of a turbine power plant, what is the likely cause? The fuel air mixture was excessively rich. What effect, if any, will aviation gasoline mixed with jet fuel have on a turbine engine? The tetraethyl lead in the gasoline forms deposits on the turbine blades. Jet fuel is of high viscosity than aviation gasoline and therefore holds contaminants better. True. When towing a large aircraft, a person should be in the cockpit to operate the brakes. Weather vaning tendency is greatest when taxiing a tailwheel type airplane in a direct crosswind. When taxiing an airplane with a quartering tailwind, the elevators and upwind aileron should be held in the down position. When taxiing or towing an aircraft, a flashing red light from the control tower means move clear of the runway/taxiway immediately. A person should approach or leave a helicopter in the pilot's field of vision whenever the engine is running in order to avoid the tail rotor. When taxiing or towing an aircraft, a flashing white light from the control tower means return to starting point. When taxiing or towing an aircraft, an alternating red and green light from the control tower means okay to proceed, but use extreme caution. When stopping a nose wheel type airplane after taxiing or towing, the nose wheel should be left pointed straight ahead. When first starting to move an aircraft while taxiing, it is important to test the brakes. The color of 100 low lead fuel is blue. How are aviation fuels which possess greater anti-lock qualities than 100 octane classified? By performance numbers. Why is ethyl dibromide added to avgas? To scavenge lead oxide from the cylinder combustion chambers. Both gasoline and kerosene have certain advantages for use as turbine fuels. Which statement is true in reference to the advantages of each? Kerosene has a high heat energy / value per unit volume than gasoline. What must accompany fuel vaporization? An absorption of heat. Characteristics of detonation are rapid rise in cylinder pressure, excessive cylinder head temperature, and a decrease in engine power. If fuel that vaporizes too readily may cause vapor lock. Jet fuel number identifiers are type numbers and have no relation to the fuel's performance in the aircraft engine. The main difference between grades 100 and 100 low lead fuel are lead content and color. Characteristics of aviation gasoline are high heat value, high volatility. Tetraethyl lead is added to avgas to improve the gasoline's performance in the engine. A fuel that does not vaporize readily enough can cause hard starting. A primary reason why ordinary or otherwise non-improved cleaning compounds should not be used when washing aircraft is because their use can result in hydrogen embrittlement in the metal structures. How may magnesium engine parts be cleaned? Wash with a commercial solvent, decarbonize, and scrape or grit blast. When an anodized surface coating is damaged in service, it can be partially restored by chemical surface treatment. For which of the following reasons would a water brake test be conducted? To make certain that a bare metal surface is thoroughly cleaned. Select the solvent recommended for wipe down of clean surfaces just before painting. Aliphatic naphtha. NiCad battery cases and drain surfaces which have been affected by electrolyte should be neutralized with a solution of boric acid. Which of the following are acceptable to use when utilizing chemical cleaning agents on aircraft? Cotton fiber wiping cloths when using a flammable agent. Atomizing spray equipment. Select the solvent used to clean acrylics and rubber. Aliphatic naphtha. Fade surfaces cause concern in chemical cleaning because of the danger of entrapping corrosive materials. Caustic cleaning products used on aluminum structures have the effect of producing corrosion. Fretting corrosion is most likely to occur when two surfaces fit together tightly but can be moved relative to one another. The rust or corrosion that occurs with most metals is the result of a tendency for them to return to their natural state. Which of the following are desired effects of using allodyne on aluminum alloy? A slightly rough surface and increased corrosion resistance. Which of the listed conditions is not one of the requirements for corrosion to occur? The presence of a passive oxide film. The lifting or flaking of the metal at the surface due to delamination of grain boundaries caused by the presence of corrosion residual product buildup is called exfoliation. A non-electrolytic chemical treatment for aluminum alloys to increase corrosion resistance and paint bonding qualities is called allodizing. Which of the following are acceptable to use in cleaning anodized surfaces? Aluminum wool fiber bristle brush. Intergranular corrosion in aluminum alloy parts cannot always be detected by surface indications. Which of the following may not be detectable even by careful visual inspection of the surface of aluminum alloy parts or structures? Intergranular corrosion. What may be used to remove corrosion from highly stressed steel surfaces? Fine grit aluminum oxide. A primary cause of intergranular corrosion is improper heat treatment. Corrosion should be removed from magnesium parts with a stiff, non-metallic brush. Why is it important not to rotate the crankshaft after corrosion preventative mixture has been put into the cylinders on the engine, preparing it for storage? The seal of the corrosion preventative mixture will be broken. Which of the following is an acceptable first step procedure to help prevent scratching when cleaning a transparent plastic surface? Flush the surface with clean water. What should be done to prevent rapid deterioration when oil or grease comes in contact with a tire? Wipe the tire with a dry cloth followed by a wash down and rinse with soap and water. Galvanic corrosion is likely to be most rapid and severe when the surface area of the anodic metal is smaller than the surface area of the cathodic metal. Corrosion caused by galvanic action is the result of contact between two unlike metals. Which of these materials are most anodic? Magnesium. The interior surface of sealed structural steel tubing would be best protected against corrosion by which of the following methods? A coating of linseed oil. Which of these materials is the most cathodic? Stainless steel. Of the following, when and or where is galvanic corrosion most likely to occur? At the interface of a steel fastener and aluminum alloy inspection plate in the presence of an electrolyte. One way of obtaining increased resistance to stress corrosion cracking is by creating compressive stresses via shot peening on the metal surface. In the corrosion process, which of the following is true? In the galvanic or electrochemical series for metals, the most anodic metals are those that will give up electrons most easily. True. Spilled mercury on aluminum causes rapid and severe corrosion that is very difficult to control. What power of 10 is equal to 1 million? 10 to the 9th power. Find the square root of 1746. 41.78. The total piston displacement of a specific engine is the volume displaced by all pistons during one revolution of the crankshaft. What is the surface area of a cube when a side edge measures 7.25? (315.375 square inches). If the volume of a cylinder with the piston at bottom center is 84 cubic inches and the piston displacement is 70 cubic inches, then what is the compression ratio? 6:1. Express 7/8 as a percentage. 87.5%. Where is the record of compliance with ADs or manufacturer's service bulletins normally indicated? Aircraft maintenance records. If work performed on an aircraft has been done satisfactorily, the signature of an authorized person on the maintenance records for maintenance or alterations performed constitutes approval for returns of service only for the work performed. During an annual inspection, if a defect is found which makes the aircraft unairworthy, the person disapproving must provide a written notice of the defect to the owner. What is the means by which the FAA notifies aircraft owners and other interested persons of unsafe conditions and prescribes the conditions under which the product may be continued to be operated? Airworthiness directives, ADs. Which is an appliance major repair? Overhaul of a hydraulic pressure pump. Where should you find this entry? Removed right wing from aircraft and removed skin from outer 6 feet. Repair buckled spar 49 inches from tip in accordance with Figure 8 in the manufacturer's Structural Repair Manual number 28-1. You can find this in Form 337 since this is a major repair/alteration. Which maintenance action is an airframe major repair? The repair of portions of skin sheets by making additional seams. Which aircraft record entry is the best description of the replacement of several damaged helicoils in a casting? Eight 1/4" -- 20" standard helicoils were replaced. The damaged inserts were extracted, the tapped holes were gauged, then new inserts installed and tangs removed. Which maintenance record entry best describes the action taken for a control cable showing approximately 20% wear on several of the individual outer wires at a fair lead? Wear within acceptable limits, repair not necessary. Which maintenance record entry best describes the action taken for a 0.125" deep dent in a straight section of 1/2" aluminum alloy tubing? Dented section removed and replaced with identical new tubing flared to 37 degrees. Which statement is true regarding the requirements for maintenance record format? Any format that provides record continuity and includes the required information may be used. When a 100-hour inspection is completed, if separate maintenance records for the airframe, powerplant, and propeller are maintained, where is the entry for the inspection recorded? In each record. For aircraft operated under Part 91, when is the aircraft total time required to be recorded in aircraft maintenance records? After satisfactory completing inspections. What's the difference between a maintenance record entry and an inspection record entry? The aircraft total time is required to be included only in the inspection entry. If more space is needed for work description entered on Form 337, what information should be included in the attached sheets in addition to the rest of the work description? Aircraft nationality and registration mark and the date the work was completed. Which aircraft record entry best describes a repair of a dent in a tubular steel structure dented at a cluster? welded a reinforcing plate over the dented area? Who is responsible for making the entry of the maintenance records after an annual 100-hour or progressive inspection? The person approving or disapproving for return to service. For aircraft operated under Part 91, which of the following records must be retained for at least a year, 1 year, or until the work is repeated or superseded? Records of maintenance, alterations, preventative maintenance, 100-hour, annual, and progressive inspections. A certified mechanic, without an inspection authorization, who signs the appropriate block on Form 337 is doing what? Certifying that the work was done in accordance with the requirements of 14 CFR Part 43. For aircraft operated under Part 91, which of the following records must be retained and transferred with the aircraft when it's sold? Records of the current status of applicable ADs and the date and time when reoccurring ADs are next due. An aircraft owner was provided a list of discrepancies on an aircraft that was not approved for return to service after an annual inspection. Which of the following is true concerning who may correct these discrepancies? An appropriately rated mechanic. When a discrepancy list is provided to an aircraft owner or operator after an inspection, it says in effect that, except for these discrepancies, the item inspected is airworthy. In order to reconstruct lost or destroyed aircraft maintenance records, what is necessary to establish? Total time in service of the airframe. What is/are the appropriate actions concerning minor repairs performed on a certificated aircraft? Entries must be made in the aircraft's maintenance records. When work is performed on an aircraft that necessitates the use of FAA Form 337, who should prepare the form? The person who performs or supervises the work. What is the status of data used as a basis for approving major repairs or alterations for return to service? Data must be FAA approved prior to its use for that purpose. Which statement is true regarding the use of FAA Form 337? FAA Form 337 is not authorized for the use other than U.S. registered aircraft. After making a certain repair to an aircraft engine that is to be returned to service, an FAA Form 337 is prepared. How many copies are required, and what is the disposition of the completed forms? 2. 1 copy for the aircraft owner and 1 copy for the FAA. Who is responsible for the upkeep and required maintenance records for an aircraft? The aircraft owner. An aircraft was not approved for return to service after an annual inspection, and the owner wanted to fly the aircraft to another maintenance base. Which statement is correct? The owner must obtain a special flight permit. Each person performing an annual or 100-hour inspection shall use a checklist that contains at least those items in the appendix of 14 CFR Part 43. An FAA Form 337 is used to record and document major repairs and major alterations. After a mechanic holding an airframe and powerplant rating completes a 100-hour inspection, what action is required before the aircraft is returned to service? Make the proper entries in the aircraft's maintenance records. Which of the following may a certified airframe and powerplant mechanic perform on aircraft and approve for return to service? A 100-hour inspection and a progressive inspection under specified circumstances. If a double-acting actuating cylinder in a 3000 psi system has a piston with a surface area of 3 square inches on the extension side and a rod with a cross-sectional area of 1 square inch attached to a piston on the other side, approximately how much force will the actuator be able to produce when retracting? 6000 psi. The boiling point of a given liquid varies directly with pressure. Which of the following is not considered a method of heat transfer? Diffusion. Which condition is the actual amount of water vapor in a mixture of air and water? Absolute humidity. Under which conditions will the rate of flow of a liquid through a metering orifice or jet be greatest, all other factors being equal? Unmetered pressure 17 psi, metered pressure 5 psi, atmospheric pressure 14.7 psi. Which will weigh the least? 35 parts of dry air and 65 parts of water vapor. What is the ratio of water vapor actually present in the atmosphere to the amount that would be present if the air was saturated at the prevailing temperature and pressure? Relative humidity. The speed of sound in the atmosphere changes with a change in temperature. The speed of sound in the atmosphere is most affected by variations in which of the following? Ambient temperature. If the volume of a confined gas is doubled, without the addition of more gas, the pressure will, assume the temperature remains constant. It will be reduced to 1/2 its original value. If the temperature of a confined liquid is held constant and its pressure is tripled, the volume will remain the same. Which atmospheric condition will cause a true landing speed of an aircraft to be the greatest? High temperature with high humidity. If the fluid pressure is 800 psi and a 1/2 inch line supplying an actuating cylinder with a piston area of 10 square inches, the force exerted on the piston will be 8,000 pounds. In physics, which of the following factors are necessary to determine power? Force exerted, distance moved, time required. Which statement concerning heat and/or temperature is true? Temperature is a measure of the kinetic energy of the molecules of any substance. What is absolute humidity? The actual amount of water vapor in a mixture of air and water. The temperature to which humid air must be cooled at constant pressure to become saturated is called dew point. If both the volume of the absolute temperature of a confined gas are doubled, the pressure will not change. If all or significant part of a stall strip is missing on an airplane wing, the likely result will be asymmetrical lateral control at or near stall angles of attack. The purpose of a stall strip on an airplane wing is to ensure that the wing root areas stall first. An airplane wing is designed to produce lift resulting from positive air pressure below the wing surface and negative air pressure above the wing surface, along with the downward deflection of air. The purpose of aircraft wing dihedral is to increase lateral stability. Aspect ratio of a wing is defined as the ratio of the wingspan to mean chord. A wing with very high aspect ratio in comparison with a low aspect ratio wing will have a low stall speed. The desired effect of using winglets on an aircraft's wingtips is to increase the lift to drag ratio. Which of the following is Newton's first law of motion, generally termed the law of inertia? Every body persists in its state of rest or motion in a straight line unless acted upon by some outside force. ADs are issued primarily to correct an unsafe condition. Which of the following is true? A STC may be issued to more than one applicant for the same design change, providing each applicant shows compliance with the applicable airworthiness requirement. Primary responsibility for compliance with ADs lies with the aircraft owner/operator. An aircraft TCDS sheet contains location of the datum. Suitability for use of a specific propeller with a particular engine-airplane combination can be determined by reference to what informational source? Aircraft specifications or aircraft type certificate data sheet. When an airworthy at the time of sale aircraft is sold, the airworthiness certificate is transferred with the aircraft. The issuance of an airworthiness certificate is governed by 14 CFR Part 21. Specifications pertaining to an aircraft model manufactured under the type certificate, of which less than 50 are shown on the FAA aircraft registry, can be found in the aircraft listings. What are technical descriptions of certificated propellers found? Propeller TCDS. What information is generally contained in the aircraft specifications or TCDS? Control surface movements. Placards required on an aircraft are specified in aircraft specifications or TCDS. Technical information about older aircraft models, of which no more than 50 remain in service, can be found in the aircraft listings. Which of the following are sometimes used as an authorization to deviate from an aircraft original type design? FAA Form 337, STCs, airworthiness directives. Which of the following is true? The FAA regulations require approval after compliance with the data of a STC. True. Which regulation provides information regarding instrument range markings for an airplane certified in the normal category? 14 CFR Part 23. Which regulation provides the airworthiness standards for an airplane certified in the normal category? CFR Part 23. Which of the following is true? A certificated powerplant mechanic may make a minor repair on an aluminum propeller and approve for return to service. True. An aircraft mechanic is privileged to perform major alterations on U.S. certified aircraft. However, the work must be done in accordance with FAA-approved technical data before the aircraft can be returned to service, which is not approved data. AC 4313-2A. What is the maintenance reporting responsibility of the person who complies with an AD? Make an entry in the maintenance record of that equipment. Which of the following is true? FAA publications such as Technical Standard Orders, Airworthiness Directives, TCDS sheets, and aircraft specifications and supplemental type certificates are all approved data. That is true. Which of the following are true? The Air Transportation Association of America Specification Number 100 establishes a standard for the presentation of technical data in maintenance manuals. True. Divides the aircraft into numbered systems and subsystems in order to simplify locating maintenance instructions. Also true. Aviation Maintenance Alerts, formerly General Aviation Airworthiness Alerts, provide information about aircraft problems and suggested corrective actions. The following words are an example of what kind of statement in an AD required within the next 25 hours time in service after the effective date of this AD unless already accomplished. Compliance. The action required by an AD may take what form? Inspection, parts replacement, design modification, change in operating procedures. TCDS sheets are issued for which of the following products? Aircraft, engines, propellers. When is a mechanic responsible for checking AD compliance? When performing an inspection required under Part 91, 125, or 135. How long are AD compliance records required to be kept? They shall be retained and then transferred with the aircraft when it's sold. What does the TCDS sheet designation code 2PCSM mean? PCSM means two place, number of seats, closed C monoplane. Which of the following includes all the regulatory definitions of maintenance? Overhaul, repair, parts replacement, inspection, and preservation. What is the maximum penalty for cheating or other unauthorized conduct when taking an FAA mechanic test? Ineligibility to receive any certificate or rating for 1 year and suspension or revocation of any certificate held. Under FAA regulations, an aviation maintenance technician is required to perform maintenance on an aircraft so that it is at least equal to its original or properly altered condition. Certificated mechanics with a powerplant rating may perform 100-hour inspections required by the FAA on powerplants, propellers, or other components thereof, and may release the same to service. A repair as performed on airframe shall mean the restoration of the airframe to a condition for safe operation after damage or deterioration. The replacement of fabric or fabric-covered parts such as wings, fuselages, stabilizer, or controlled surfaces is considered to be major repair even though no alteration or repair is performed. Which is classified as a major repair? The splicing of skin sheets. The 100-hour inspection required by FAA regulations for certain aircraft being operated for hire may be performed by appropriately rated mechanics and approved by them for return to service. A person working under the supervision of a certified mechanic with an airframe and powerplant rating is not authorized to perform a 100-hour inspection. Certified mechanics, under their general certificate privileges, may perform 100-hour inspections of instruments. An airworthiness directive requires that a propeller be altered. Certified mechanics could perform and approve the work for return to service if it is a minor alteration. The replacement of a damaged vertical stabilizer with a new identical stabilizer purchased from an aircraft manufacturer is considered a minor repair. FAA certificated mechanics may approve for the return to service a minor alteration they have performed appropriate to the ratings they hold. What part of the FAA regulations prescribe the requirements for issuing mechanic certificates and associated ratings and the general operating rules for the holder of these certificates and ratings? FAA Part 65. A certified mechanic shall not exercise the privileges of the certificate and rating unless, within the preceding 24 calendar months, the administrator has found that the certificate holder is able to do the work, or the certificate holder has served as a mechanic under the certificate and rating for at least 6 months. Under Title 14 of the Code of Federal Regulations, what is the maximum penalty for falsification, alteration, or fraudulent reproduction of certificates, logbooks, reports, and records? Suspension or revocation of any certificate held. How long does the holder of a certificate issued under 14 CFR Part 65 have to notify the FAA after any change in their permanent mailing address? 30 days. What is the normal duration a mechanic certificate with airframe or and power plant ratings? Until surrendered, suspended, or revoked. Why is a mechanic applicant issued a temporary certificate after successfully completion of the required tests? To allow for review of his or her application and supplementary documents. What is the maximum duration of a temporary airman certificate? 120 days. When may an otherwise qualified mechanic who does not read, write, speak, and understand the English language be eligible to apply for a mechanic certificate? When employed outside the United States by a U.S. air carrier. Which of the following statements is true for a certificated and appropriately rated mechanic regarding repairs and alterations? He/she may perform an airframe major repair or major alteration but cannot approve the work for return to service. Who is responsible for determining that materials used in aircraft maintenance and repair are the proper type and conform to appropriate standards? The installing person or agency. Which of these publications contains standards for protrusion of bolts, studs, and screws through self-locking nuts? AC 4313-1B. The replacement of a damaged engine mount with a new identical engine mount purchased from an aircraft manufacturer is considered a minor repair. Who has the authority to approve for return to service a propeller after a 100-hour inspection? A mechanic with a power plant rating. Instrument repairs may be performed by an FAA-approved instrument repair station. How is a quality system assured? By an internal reporting and auditing system.
Professor James Reason explains that errors by aircraft mechanics fall into one of three categories. These categories are slips, mistakes, and violations. Many areas of aviation have shifted their focus from eliminating error to preventing and managing error. When we think of aviation safety in a contemporary way, human error is the intervention point.